While others celebrate the wins,
Yes.
We celebrate the mud.
each episode has a special guest.
Tony-nominated actress, Broadway's Lily Cooper.
Tashir Zameda.
David A. Gregory.
Getting messy with muddy topics.
We are going to be talking about grief journey.
With hilarious moments
Now get over here.
And deep conversations.
I'm ashamed to even admit this, but this is what happened.
This is Into the Mud.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Into the Mud podcast.
I'm Alex Cuban.
I'm Drew King, and while others celebrate the wins,
We celebrate the mud.
we are coming to you from the Malin.
The Barrow Room at the Malin in the West Village of New York City. And we're so excited to have our guest today, Sydney Miller.
Yes, Sydney.
Yeah. So happy you're here. Sydney is an amazing fitness instructor, boxer, nutrition coach, lady extraordinaire. You do everything. I've been working with you for like a year and a half, maybe a year actually, close to a year and a half. Tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you do, just like day to day, a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so I own my own business called S-Box Training. So I work with individual clients on nutrition goals and fitness goals and everything else really wellness related. So I do online coaching through my app, and then I do in-person one-on-one coaching, and then I also run camps like strength and conditioning camps that last for 6 weeks at a time. So I really like take a cohort of people and lead them through more of like a transformation process where we're training together multiple times a week. And then I run women's boxing retreats in Puerto Rico. So
you're not busy at all?
no, I'm not busy now.
Oh, yeah. What do you do with your free time? You seem so lazy.
I know.
When I'm doing the retreat in Puerto Rico in October, and there's still a couple spots left.
Yes,
going.
yeah.
Oh, can I come? Can gays come?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make up that rule. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. I won't be threatening.
But one of my favorite things about working with you is you take a more holistic approach to wellness, right? Where it's not just like we're gonna lift weights. Like it is both a pushing of like your physical boundaries and like just abilities, but it's also very much a mental thing that you do as well, an emotional thing where it's like, let's talk about like if you have roadblocks in your wellness journey, like where are those from?
Exactly,
let's tackle that. So you've really done a great job of like just building out this really beautiful brand, I guess, and lifestyle, and it's been so I love you.
How did you first find your way into fitness? I know you used to be a public school teacher. Correct?
Yeah. I was a high school English teacher in public charter schools, and very different setting. And then I was always an athlete my whole life, and actually like I didn't realize how stifling it would be to like remove movement from like central to my life. And when I was a high school teacher, it was so stationary, like physically, you went into like one room and that's where you were from 7:30 in the morning until sometimes like 5 or 5:30 at night. And that was a struggle for me, and definitely like chipped away a little at like my mental health, just because I didn't have that expression in my body. And I felt like, I didn't really realize it until after I got it back how much it was like lacking in that career. I mean, there was a lot else. I loved working with my students. I still love like reading and writing and using that as a tool to help people, access vulnerability and connection. And I use that in my current job and career. But yeah, the school setting was like really rough, was tough for me. Like the people were amazing. My students were so inspiring and taught me lessons that will change, have changed me forever. But yeah, I'm much happier like moving around and moving my body and tapping into that.
How many years was it between teaching and deciding to step away full time?
It was fitness? 4 years. 4 years, yeah.
Okay.
4 years as a school teacher.
Were you starting to slowly teach?
Yes.
And then it just got to the point where you're like, oh, I can actually sustain myself.
You have an interesting trajectory that I would love.
Elaborate.
Yeah, so I bounced around I got my master's in education in one of those years, and I was still student teaching. And then in my final year in the classroom, I was like, because essentially I was feeling like, the school system, as we all know, is very broken, and working in some of the worst schools in the country. I was in New Orleans at the time. It was really hard to like be so in love with these young people and see, you know, how brilliant they are and how much life they have to live, and like, and then notice the ways that the school system is failing them in such a deep way. And then I didn't get them until they're, you know, 17 years old, 18 years old. Some of them like have been so disserviced by the system already that it's like, what can I do in a period of like 9 months that actually interrupts that system? I was just feeling like I'm constantly swimming upstream. And I was teaching fitness at these studios on the side to literally get a free gym membership. Like I was in New Orleans, and I like went to the spin class, and bless her heart, I remember like the coach at the time, I was like, oh gosh, I can't take these classes, so I'm gonna teach them. So I literally
I can do better.
Straight up.
Yeah.
I can do a better job.
Literally, I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna wing it and make something work.
Yeah.
At least I had like my own playlist. I would invite my
Yeah.
friends. Like it was like my little release on the side. I never really dreamed that like fitness was a thing you could do as like a full-time career. And then I honestly, like, it was after that 4th year teaching, I was like entering my 5th year, and I was like, I can't do this again. And I'm going to take some time off for myself. It was more of like, I was defeated. It wasn't like, I'm going to go for this new path, you know? So I was like, I'm going to take some time off for myself. I was working as like, you know, in like coffee shops and like doing like babysitting, doing all these different things. And then I tried out for Soul Cycle. And they offered me a job and moved me out to Los Angeles. And that's when and I kind of like took the leap. I was like, you know what, I'll just go with this, see what happens.
Yeah.
Really not knowing like obviously like all the places it would lead me. And I didn't honestly dream that it would become like a full-time career that I could really land in. So.
Well, and it also took you, SoulCycle took you to Dubai for a year.
Oh
it was
my
a different
gosh.
company where,
Like,
I was
yeah.
overseas, so yeah.
Whoa.
All the things.
Yeah.
That's
a wild, like, boom, boom, boom.
Did Soul Cycle eventually bring you back to New York? 'Cause you're
No,
from
so
New
it
York
wasn't
originally.
SoulCycle that moved me to Dubai. It was a different company. I became head of training. Thank you. For the Platform Studios, is a chain of fitness studios in Dubai. So one of the owners of Platform came to Los Angeles to do recruiting, took my class in LA, a SoulCycle class, and he was like, how do I get you to move to Dubai? And at the time I was like ready to leave. So I
Slid a number.
Change
across
my
the
lives.
it worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing trajectory.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's a cool, like, very, like, lots of different places, lots of different experiences.
Yeah.
But we wanted to talk today about a particularly interesting muddy situation that I have gone through. You've gone through it, kind of, and I'm sure everyone who's listening has, I'm sure, gone through. But unrelated to work, just navigating life post breakup, and like what just like some of the difficult things that come up as you exit a relationship, right? Because I don't think I fully understood what, like, people are like, breakups are hard. And that's such a general term for like the absolute agony that you go through as you navigate the end of a relationship. And I don't think I just truly could have ever understood the pain of it until I went through it. And you and I have talked a lot about just some of the, like, just adjusting to life post breakup, and like what are some of the things that have come up for you, and especially being in our 30s and like just bigger life questions like that. So we, to however much you want to, talk about, like, what are some of the bigger struggles that you have encountered as you are, exiting your previous relationship, or have you have?
Yeah, I just have to agree with you. I think one of the biggest struggles is like the lack of like roadmap there is available for like what it is to navigate a breakup. And mine came in like a lot of different stages and was like super painful and has been like super long and a very windy road. And at some points I felt really ashamed of like my process, and that's felt like very lonely sometimes. Like even connecting with Alex, with you, has been so life-changing, because finding friends who can really hold me at like the messiest parts of this is really special and life-changing because you're like, okay, this shit's like messy and crazy, but I don't have to do it alone. I don't have to be embarrassed to come to the table with like any which stage I'm in. Because there was a while where I was like isolating myself from a lot of people because I knew they would disapprove of like the going back thing and breaking up and getting back together. And so I would start like hiding things. So that part, and I'm such a open person. So like any element of like withdrawing and hiding things feels really unnatural for me. And then, you know, like, I've thought about this so many times and myself like working on writing some materials and stuff in response to it. But it's like, you know, if you have addiction, there are like concrete resources to seek out, and there's a way to like tell your boss and like to tell your family,
Yes.
you know, it's like, and it's like, no, like, there have been days when I'm like, I can't leave my bed today, or like, I can't be a coach today. Like I like my tank is empty, but it's like the world is not giving me permission to have that, you know? And
you can't call in like heartbroken.
like, I'm sorry, right?
Yeah,
Can't come
sorry,
to
my
heartbreak.
Yeah, it's like
And even like, so and then it took me like 17 failed breakups to realize like, okay, there's really real shit that I have to do. Like I have to stop drinking because hangovers and breakups don't go together. I have to, you know, it's like all these things, like I have to, you know, change my work hours because I can't be, you know, in the same place as this person like right now. I need to like care for myself in that way. Like all these things that maybe they sound obvious to some people, but for me, it was a lot of like trial and error and like, felt like really discouraging and disheartening. Like, what's wrong with me that I can't get from like, I see where I need to go, but I can't get there. And I feel like so dumb and inadequate. And like, I am not worthy of even like being a health and wellness coach during this time. You know, there's like a lot of imposter syndrome I think I run into. And
That's complicated.
Yeah, word.
It's interesting because you are so, as someone who I now only know you socially through Alex, but from my perspective, it's everything, you're fucking crushing it. Like you have a successful business, you have these really deep, rich friendships, you've become your own entrepreneur and built this brand, and it's only growing, and you're getting to work with like diverse, cool, fun, awesome, interesting people. And so like career, life, like it all seems like it's like popping off and everything's great. But that's the tricky part, is that you do have to get up in the morning when you're suffering through something and be like, okay, great. Now it's time to be the health and wellness coach. When like you yourself in that moment are feeling like, I don't have anything left to give right now. How do you reconcile, I guess, when you're feeling that deep pain from a breakup and feeling lost and feeling shame and then feeling icky that you feel shame?
Right, yeah.
But then still show up and be a coach and be a beacon of, you know, wisdom and courage and strength for other people. That's a really hard contrast.
That was actually like, like I think part of the way that I've learned to reconcile that, which has been like such a healthy challenge for me, is giving myself permission to show up in the authenticity of like where I'm at and not feel like I have to wear a mask to work every day, because that gets too exhausting. I can't uphold that, I've recognized. And also I'll say, like, you have these like little angels that come out of the woodworks like during this process, and they don't know that they have been so important to you, but I'll have these like little conversations with people that like hold me in this space like I need to be, and they don't even mean to do it, but just like a little thing that they'll say when I'm like so in need is like so powerful. And I remember he's like this really young man who takes my classes, and he's so sweet. I love him. And there was like one day where I paired everyone up to do a discussion, because I do that sort of thing in the beginning of my class. I'll do like an icebreaker discussion. So we were talking about something that I honestly forget the question prompt, but I paired myself up with him because there was an odd number of people, and I don't usually even do this, but we end up talking. And we were identifying some struggles we were having, and the struggle I identified to him was like that, you know, I should be showing up as this like peppy coach, but that some days lately I've been feeling really, really like withdrawn and like empty and whatever. And he was like, well, I mean, I think, you know, it's really cool if you just show up exactly how you feel. Like for me, that's inspiring. And I like wanted to cry just like hearing him say that, because I was like, wait, you're right. Like I don't have to pretend that I'm not going through something hard, no matter how many times I go through it, and that was just like the little, permission I needed to help me know that even someone who like pays for my classes is like okay with me showing up sad sometimes, or like showing up like less energetic. And I think that's been like a really something that life has tried to teach me a few times over again, but I'm still practicing, is like giving myself permission to just show up where I'm at, even when I'm in a position of like being the leader, like being the cheerleader, being the coach,
Well, because because you're still showing up.
Right.
Like, I think at the end of the day, it's like you're still coming and teaching the class and doing it. And maybe it's not the biggest smile 100% of the time, but you're still there, and you've put the time in and the effort, and like you've built the trust. I think like that was the thing that like you've built this you've put the time and effort into like, I know that when you and I work together, it's going to be a great time physically, mentally, and emotionally, because that's what I have come to expect. And it's like there have been times when I show up when I'm like, I don't have much in the tank today. And it's not like you go, all right, let's just cancel. You just go, all right, we're just gonna like take a little slower today. Like, and that's what it is. It's like this expectation of like everyone being 100% all the time is so unrealistic. And to like echo what he was saying, like I so much prefer someone who's just like, you know what, I got 70% in the tank today. Or I got 60, or I got 40.
Yeah, totally.
But, and like, not that you need to say that, but like I don't need someone who's perfect.
Right.
I don't want to take a class from someone who's like, I'm perfect and I have nothing wrong and nothing in my life is bad. I'm like, I don't trust that.
Right. Totally.
You're wrong. Or you're not paying enough attention.
Yeah.
Like,
I
think it's yeah.
How long did this, like, what's like the timeline of this situationship relationship?
Jeez Louise. Well, about like 3 years in total, but we've had so many like on and offs, and so like a long time. And
that is a long time.
Yeah.
And that in between, my therapist always says to me, like, the in between spaces are more painful than the spaces on either end. It's either like if you're fully broken up and there's no communication, or you're 100% together, those spaces are so much easier to exist in than the in-between space of being like, I don't know, like we broke up, but like I still kind of love them. But like, I don't know, maybe they're not right for me. Those in-between spaces, which is what a lot of In the Mud was rooted in, are so painful and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What did those spaces feel like for you?
Yeah, I think I grappled with a lot. Like, I feel like for the first time, it's nice showing up not in an in-between space. Like, I really feel like even though days are really hard sometimes, I don't feel like vulnerable to slipping back into old habits, at least right now, I'll say. But yeah, I think the in-between space felt like this, like, I think there was a lot of moments of me like seeing myself engage in unhealthy dynamics and behavior and destructive behavior, and like feeling like I was like a drunk driver, but I couldn't get out behind the steering wheel. It's like, I know I shouldn't be driving the car. I know I don't have like my right mind with me, but I'm like, I can't, like, there's something keeping me there, So it kind of felt like that. And then it also felt like there was like this a cycle of me trying to like prove my worth in this dynamic, like prove that I could get this person's love consistently, or like I was worthy for that to exist. And then once I had it, it was like I knew it wasn't right because it felt so easily change, or like so fragile. I spent so much of that time feeling unsettled, to your point, and that is so hard to exist in, because it's hard to feel settled in any area of your life when like that part of your life feels so shaky. And so I found that it often like robbed me of like a lot of like feeling a lot of like the success and the beauty of like so many other things, because I'm like so distracted and anxious and whatever at many moments. Obviously there were a lot of moments of like really deep joy and love and all those things, but there were also just like, it was a lot of worrying and tension and like anxiety.
But if I'm assuming, maybe I'm generalizing or projecting onto you, but I would gather that what you do for work brings you a lot of confidence and brings you a lot of joy and brings you grounding in a certain way.
Yeah.
But then to behind the scenes, feel like you have something going on relationship-wise that is like rocking your stability and your confidence. I don't know, was that the dynamic with this person? Was it kind of a like, you couldn't get them to sign up wholeheartedly, or were you the one withholding? Like, what was the...
I think it was a dance. It was both ways. I mean, I think there was more like obvious ways that he was like, you know, not fully committing to me, honestly. But like, I think there were my moments also of like, I'll for sure own that, like, when things were like good, me recognizing that I was like questioning things. So I think we had this dance that we would do on both sides. But yeah, I remember like, it was interesting. So I competed while we were together in those 3 years. There were 2 fights that I had, like boxing matches that I had. And both of them, I remember we were going through a hard time when I signed up for the fight. And I was like, I need this. I need to like fight a bitch.
Like, get it out.
Yeah.
And I did. And I won both. And he was there at both of them. And like, there was this whole like dynamic of me proving something and like proving it through this like grit and like force and just like fucking like hammering through this experience. And it's hard fighting when you also have a career, because you're getting blows to the head, like you don't feel like yourself, you have to like cut all this weight. So I was putting so much on my body in a time when I'm also going through like emotional distress and trying to uphold a full-time job. And in a way, it like, I kind of did it like for myself, but I noticed at the end, it brought me like closer and closer to the relationship, because it felt like I needed that like sort of surface level, like support or response. And then in the last, I was also supposed to fight in June, and and I've been going over in my head, like, how do I find myself in different territory? And it's like through different patterns. Like, how does someone lose weight? You have to do something different. Like, how does someone build strength? You have to do something different. How does someone like leave a toxic relationship? You have to do different things. Like, your patterns have to be different for the outcome to be different. And I was like, okay, well, and I'm sitting and I'm like offered this fight, and it was a really cool opportunity. It was going to be my first like belt and all these things. But I know that I need to go through this breakup. You know, I see, like, I'm at point A, I see point B, but I know I'm not there yet. This was months ago when I was deciding whether to take the fight. And I was like, what would doing something different look like? And like, what I realized was that the old pattern would be to sign up for the fight and like drill myself into it. And something wasn't feeling, like I even tried like trying that on. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the fight. And I was showing up to the gym, like to train with my coach, and I was feeling like fucking exhausted. Like I was like having to lift my legs and drag them. And I was like dragging myself through this fight right now and putting myself in harm's way and like getting hit in the head. And same thing like with drinking also, like all these things. I'm like, I think that there's like a different way to fight this fight, like my emotional fight, not this like boxing match. And I think it's actually like leaving the fight. And that became very symbolic for me of like not fighting for someone's like attention and approval and like keeping him, you know, just like surrendering and like not signing up for a fight that's going to like, you know, drill my body into the ground, but actually saving my energy to go through something that's more important for me. And so yeah, like I think that
that's
like
a massive shift.
That's a
like
massive shift.
Yeah. What was that? I guess just kind of going through it on your own process, or I don't know. Are you a therapy girl? Like, did your therapist help with this?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it was
Or the tools that you've already been picking up in therapy kind of like have led you down that path.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like there has been a theme in therapy, and my therapist is really good. Like, she'll never tell me what to do. She'll just prompt me towards like a really more positive way of thinking. And there has been a theme that's come up of like, what would it feel like to leave the fight? You know, my family's all like really good at fighting, but like not everyone's that good at being like soft and loving, you know? And then my friend at work, he keeps telling me that I'm in like training with Shem. He's training me how to be more like a flower, so like less like a bulldozer.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this in training the other day, how similar, how some of the boxing principles and everyone's style can be so reflective of a life, right? Like, so one of the things, I was going too fast and I wasn't landing.
Your weight was like forward.
Yeah.
So you were already punching before you had time to like think and settle into the
reset
combo.
and to get it to the most efficient thing. And it was this, we had also been talking about how I'm doing too much. I'm going too fast.
Yeah.
I'm not giving myself a break and I am burning myself out. And it was such a like, it was that. And then you had something about like,
yeah. Well, my coaches always tell me, they're like, you have so much power, but when you only fight with power, then you lose the opportunity to really like see what's coming, you know? And like when you don't sort of like, you need to like flow a little bit more and like be actually like softer and not actually hit with so much power so that you can follow up with more combinations and more aware defense, you know?
Yeah.
it's so amazing. And like boxing is like, you should start.
I've never been in a fight. Actually, I was in one fight as a kid.
The only fight you've been in was in West Side Story.
And yeah. I'm a shot. No, it was like some kid made fun of my brother's bike. And I was like, don't make fun of my brother's bike. And then he picked me up and threw me and I ran home crying. So that was the only fight I've ever been in.
So we're going to
so you stood up.
I don't know how to punch. Like,
That's it. That's it.
hey.
Hey. You have to say hey when you do it. It's a nice job.
Oh my God. I love what you said about if you're only fighting with power, you lose the opportunity to hold back and see what's coming. Do you feel that is shifting a little bit in your dating perspective moving forward? Like, were you immediately like back on Hinge, back on Bumble, gotta find that, like, gotta get married, blah, 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 like freeze my eggs, like gotta do the whole thing that all of our friends are dealing with in their 30s and dating in New York City?
Yeah.
Or have you just been like, okay, I'm gonna see, I don't know, what's it been like for you? Have you taken a step back to try and observe?
That's a really good question. I've definitely battled with that for sure, because there is like so much pressure, and I do want to start a family, and I am 34 and my eggs are dying every day. No. But it's just biology.
Yeah.
But I'm also like a really happy person with like so much love in my life and so much success and like so much opportunity. So I think, that has to be like my shift that I'm still working on, is like not coming from a place of lack. And I think like back to the correlation with boxing, it's like, I think for a long time I thought of like leaving the relationship as like taking a loss, you know, or like this, and it is in a sense like I'm losing so much and like a best friend and all these things, but you have to also think of like the long game. It's like maybe I'm losing the round, but I'm not losing the match, you know, or maybe I'm like, I don't know, there's different ways to frame it of like, if your life is the fight, then like this loss becomes actually like it's actually a win, because it's contributing. If I really think about what I want for like future Sid and like for the life that I want, I know that this relationship actually isn't it.
Correct.
So that's the win. And so it's like a weird. And even like the same thing with like whether to take that fight in June, it's like someone consider that a loss. Like I dropped out. I never fully took it, but like, so reframing that into, no, that's actually my win, because then I get to keep myself. So it's like,
Sid, that's so beautiful.
It is. And it is such a, I think our culture is so hyper fixated on like longevity of relationships over like, just like, if you break up, or if a marriage ends or whatever it is, then it's a failure. And it's like, I consider the the failed relationships that I see are the people who are two unhappy people still together.
I completely agree.
You know, like that to me is just such a sad thing. ever present.
Yeah.
Everywhere, you know?
I know. I had this reaction to a woman who told me that they are getting divorced. And I've known that a little bit about her marriage for quite some time. And like my gut instinct was like, congratulations. Like, I mean, yes, there's going to be really hard things, but like, congratulations on choosing yourself. You have so many brighter things to look forward to. And for some reason, it reminds me of the conversation Alex and I have. Like, can I tell like a quick anecdote to illustrate? So I passed this, I was walking my dog feeling sad about my breakup the other day. This was maybe a week ago. And I passed this garbage bag with Popeyes in it. And like how detailed do I go?
Mm-hmm. Love Popeyes.
Yes.
Me too. And it correlated to this, like, this memory that came to me. And it was like such a like sweet memory with my ex. And I felt so sad. I was literally walking and crying, like thinking of this like sweet moment we had in the car, and there was Popeyes, like all this stuff happening. There was more, and it was like one of those moments that I could tell it a million times, but like nobody would ever feel the sweetness or like understand the sweetness of like what that moment was that I only shared with that person. So, and Popeyes. And so, and like I have this grease stain on my jeans from the Popeyes from that night. Every time I wear them, they're my favorite fucking jeans. Every time I wear them, I like think about this night. And I always sit with it and I'm like, and there's so many moments like that, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when I'm walking around my neighborhood. So many like moments of places that we had together, you know? And I was thinking, but it got me thinking like, because obviously what's your first instinct when you see this thing that reminds you of this memory, and there's only one person in the world that shared that memory with you and would understand your sadness at that moment. And like our very human instinct is to like want to be with that person, want to reach out to that person, want to make connection so that you can like share that memory with that only person who understands. And then I was like, okay, what's the different pattern I can find? The different pattern I can find is knowing the value that something can exist when it's just your own, you know, like happiness is still happiness when it's only shared with yourself. Like there is like a memory that's still loving and beautiful and like brings me joy and sadness at the same time when I can only really understand it myself. Like I don't actually have to like reach out for validation that someone else remembers that or like someone else can share it with me. So I think, like just having the confidence and like the calmness to like breathe through these moments instead of like trying to act out and like fix them or join them with someone else or something, of just being like, yeah, this is both like really sad and beautiful and happy and lonely at the same time, but I can like breathe through and live through this.
That's Casey Musgraves, Happy Sad. Do you guys all know that song?
No, but
Oh, it's beautiful.
we're
It's a
gonna.
great song. We'll put it in the resources page.
Put it in the resource page.
Great song.
I think that was the biggest shock for me, and one of the hard parts for me moving through my breakup was this like soup of emotions that I felt every day, of like all different, every single emotion that you could, like sadness, relief, guilt, shame, fear, anger, like just that at any given moment, anything that I looked at would remind me of something that would trigger this big emotional response that was like, that has you either questioning or wanting to reach out or being like, did I make a mistake? Like you just, it's such the immediate aftermath is such a shaky time. It feels so uncertain, and it's such a raw place to move through. And I think like, I don't know, for me, I would love to hear what some of the like most helpful things for you have been. But for me, it was, I had a lot of friends, and one in particular that truly just texted me every day, either texted or called every day for like 4 months, and was like, how's today? Yeah. Just because I am not typically the person that will reach out. Yeah. Like I will occasionally, but like if someone reaches out to be like, how you doing? I will be honest about it. I'll be like, today's actually okay. Or really bad, cried all day. I'm in a panic. And then she would call, we would talk. And it was just so helpful having like that person. Yeah. And like having having these new, having people who I was like, I know I can talk to this person. What were some of the things that helped you?
Such a good question. You're killing it. Me too. I think, okay, so this is actually something I learned from my friend who's in AA. It was like, he was like, they teach you, I guess, when you're, you're coming out of addiction, they teach you that when you're suffering the most is when you need to call someone and check in on them, right? So that's like one principle, right? Like you call someone who's vulnerable to relapse and you actually check in on them. And that's how you cope with your own, like, fragile space.
Finding common ground.
Yeah. There's like connection, there's being useful, there's like all these things that happen in that interaction of like, so, and the same thing, like there were days when I've been, throughout this breakup, like really struggling with, I don't know, like I've never gone through bouts of depression, but I think like feeling lows that I'm like unfamiliar with. And then like I remember coming to my therapist and being like, what do I do when I feel that sad? When I feel like there's literally like a lack of light and love in my world because I'm just so unaccustomed to those feelings. And she was like, give love, like get like be like bring joy. Yeah. And so that even going to my clients' homes to train them or meeting them in the gym and like bringing with me like love to share with them or like some sort of celebration to celebrate them, like actually ends up being my saving grace, And I think friends both, like I watched Alex from the time that she actually mentioned, I might have been one of the first people maybe that even said out loud, like this holy shit breakup might happen at some point, Same thing. I've had so many friends, honestly, and clients who have gone through breakups like within the same time period as me. So having friendships and seeing people who I know I want something better for go through that and like seeing my like reflection in that has been super helpful. And then most helpful of all is like the people who have given me the grace and the patience and the love that's like so unconditional to be like, you can fuck up as many times as you need to and I'm still gonna be here. And that is like without a doubt like the most healing part of this whole experience that's been for me, and I think it's like decentralizing like him from being the star of this experience sometimes and remembering that like this is actually about me and my story and that part of like my friends showing up to be like, you can break up and get together 20,000 times with someone who I know is the wrong person for you. And like, I'm still going to be here to hold your hand through every time. Like that is like the most healing thing I've ever experienced.
That's deep, true friendship.
Yeah.
That's the best. I've had a couple friends where I'm like, I don't need to be another person who's like, you're doing this wrong. Right. Because your brain's already doing that.
Yeah. My shame is I'm already beating myself on the back.
Yeah.
I don't need my friends to do that.
Yeah.
And you do that, so you've done that for me so well. And the people who have just been like, don't blow smoke up my ass, don't bullshit me. Like, we all know we've known for a while, like, he wasn't it for me or whatever, like circumstances showed us that. But like, so don't like be real with me, be like, I want something different for you. But then that and part, and I'm still going to be here, like whatever decision you make. And that has changed the way that I show up as a friend for other people. I have friends right now going through stuff like that where I'm like, I see so clearly what the right decision or the better decision is, but maybe their healing requires a different path, or maybe their learning requires a different path. So my response is, this is what I would want for you as your friend, and go out there and make mistakes, and I'm still going to be here.
We have a lifetime of mistakes to make. And I think about the amount of times that people have tried to give me advice that was 100% the right advice. And I completely was like, absolutely, I'm going to take that advice. And I turned right around and I did the complete opposite thing. Because
but that might have been right. I mean, that was right.
It was right. It was the wrong choice, but it was the right thing I needed to do because we all need to go through our own bullshit and make our own mistakes to know. It's the only way to link this, to link them together. Because otherwise, we're going to be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take that advice, but you can't really take anyone else's advice until you've gone through it and fucked up. So it's necessary, and that is where it comes in of what it means to be a friend, is to say like, okay, cool, like you're 100% making the wrong choice, but like I love you and I'm here with you because you have to do what you have to do.
And trusting that like it is the wrong choice, but like having enough trust in your friends also to be like, for my friends looking in at me, like this might seem like really weird move at some point for me to keep going back to the same person, you know, but like trust in me that like there's something still in this dynamic that I need to live through. I need to feel, I need to whatever, you know, and being like, you know, I don't get it, but I get it.
Yeah.
As what? So, and we have to wrap up in a moment. But what are some of the things that you are most excited for, or like, as you're moving out of the rougher parts of it, you know, and the days are getting like a little brighter and you're having some new experiences, what are some of the things that are the most exciting for you in your life right now that you get to like dedicate more time to, or things that you are excited to develop in the coming years?
Yeah. Well, I think like it's funny, like Drew is like rushing to like date and whatever. Like I am dating now, but I don't feel like I'm rushing in it. I feel like I'm really actually approaching it in a very calm, like I don't actually even want to invite in like a relationship at this moment, because I'm more invested in like exploring and dating and like getting to know myself in this new space, you know. But I'm excited to show up, and I have been watching myself show up in like a much more honest way than I ever have before in like romantic relationships. And I think so much of our conditioning, especially as women, is like, you know, to show up in like almost as yourself, or what I maybe even like thought was myself in the past, but like edited, because I had to like draw them in first. And now I'm like, I'm very confident in like what I bring to the table and how valuable of like a package I am. And so I'm not trying to sell that to anyone. And that allows me the freedom to really be super honest, like uncomfortably honest with like, just like what, you know, what I feel like doing the night that I'm like supposed to go on the date, or like, I'm not drinking right now, or like, I like, yes, I would like to, but I wouldn't like to tonight, or like, I don't know, all these like nuanced things that come up that I'm just watching myself speak from like my actual truth in like what my preferences are, like what, you know, what my mood is, like what, and I don't get nervous when I'm going on dates. So anyway, that whole experience just coming from a very different place feels exciting. It feels like, oh, this is my 30s like moment.
Yeah,
you know? I love that. And then also just shifting a lot of the energy that felt like it wasn't expansive energy, you know, like you were challenging me towards, like, what does it feel like in your body? Like a lot of that back and forth, a lot of that like vying for attention from someone who wasn't fully giving it to me all the time, like that is like not expansive energy. But so taking that and like putting it into the things like my retreats, like my business, my, you know, my new dating life, my friendships that have like supported me to and through, and creating more space for expansiveness in my whole life is exciting to me.
Okay,
I love that.
beautiful.
Yeah, we talked
Space for
about like when a person or idea or opportunity comes to you, just tuning into like, when you think about it, does it make you feel like constricted and tight, or does it make you feel like out and expansive and open? And to always move towards the things that make you feel that expansiveness.
I love that.
And it's just like, listening to your intuition and like listening to the little voice or whatever it is that's like, this is the way, that's not the way. Like, which takes a lot of practice.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Synth, that you knocked it out of the
Amazing.
park. That was beautiful.
You nailed it. It's a little 1-2
Yes.
punch.
Yes. I love it.
We have just like some little rapid fire questions
fires.
that we like to end our episode with.
Oh my God.
Top of mind, don't even think twice about it, okay?
No, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be so fun.
Go.
Ready? Swim with sharks or jump out of an airplane?
Jump out of an airplane.
Favorite type of exercise?
Boxing.
If you could compete in any Olympic sport, what would it be?
Boxing.
Least favorite chore?
Taking out the trash.
What time of day are you most inspired?
Morning.
I thought you said least favorite shore, and you're like Gulf Shore. Definitely the Gulf Shore. I hate the Gulf Shore.
Disgusting.
Oh God. Okay. Mortal Kombat or Kill Bill?
Mortal Kombat.
What character do you choose in Mario Kart?
Who's the girl, Mario?
Princess Peach?
Yeah, Princess
Yeah, Princess Peach. Okay, 100 push-ups or 50 chin-ups?
100 put. Oh, both. Like back to back. Please.
Okay. Hard.
Boom! Good for you. Who do you predict will win the 2024 election?
Oh shit, Biden.
Okay. What's your favorite snack after midnight?
Like Greek yogurt protein
Yes!
and peanut
That's
butter
on brand.
and berries. I know it's really yummy.
I love mine's like peanut butter cups and
I
yours
know
is
it's like
health.
High protein
That's why I said
ice
it's
cream.
love that.
I've been making that nonstop.
So
It's so good. Okay, well, we love you so much. Where can
you
we?
guys.
Where can everyone find you and anything you want to plug?
Yeah, so my women's plus Drew boxing retreat
I'll be there.
is October 3rd through 7th in Rincon, Puerto Rico. It's truly amazing. I think of it like we spend so much time with like our nose to the grind, kind of so close to what the daily grind of what we're doing. So we really get to like zoom out and then meet these authentic friendships that meet us where we're at while we're boxing, while we're running, while we're doing all this amazing stuff under the sun in Puerto Rico. So definitely hit me up if you're interested in the S-Box training retreat, October 3rd through 7th. You can also find me on Instagram at SydFit212, SYDFIT. And
What's your website?
sboxtraining.com.
sboxtraining.com.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
George,
Wow.
thank you so much.
Thank you guys. That was awesome. I love being here.
Thanks, y'all. And if you're going through a breakup right now, fucking A, I'm so sorry.
Come
That
punch,
just sucks.
come punch something.
yeah. come punch
something to
something.
Sid.
Yeah,
'cause that
that
shit's
helps.
hard.
Drop in our comments what
Yeah.
Works for you, what's been helpful.
Yeah.
And we love you so much.
I love you. All right, thank you all. Like, subscribe, follow. Bye.
Bye.